Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Pro, the weekly sports culture podcast with myself and my co-host Calvin Pace. We're back here for another episode. Pace, how things been going?
Life is good, man. It's just cold. That damn polar vortex is upon us. But nah,
Man, I still got snow from a week ago, just because it's been in the shaded areas.
yeah.
And it's still sitting there a week later, and that's a little bit different. And it's supposed to drop down to the 20s next week as a high. So yeah, we shivering up here too, man.
Better get that triple fat goose out. Get ready.
Paige, let's jump into it. We're gonna start off. We got college football national championship. We got Notre Dame versus Ohio State. Interesting matchup, and I'm just going to go out the gate, and then I want to get your analysis and your prediction. But I just want to say it's just interesting that it neither, Notre Dame is independent, but Ohio State was not didn't come in through the conference championship qualifier. So they didn't win the So you have two teams, neither came in or coming in as conference champions. And that was one of the things that the committee wanted to try to reward and give weight to. And I understand, but I just found that interesting.
Yeah, no, I think in some respects it's a breath of fresh air from the Notre Dame side. I didn't spoke about. I'm a big Marcus Freeman fan. I think he is the epitome of a leader of men. Somebody guys can rally behind. He's relatable. He's not that old.
Yeah,
And he's done it. He's done it at a high level. I mean, you and I both know it comes across, the message comes across easier from coaches when I can look back and see you actually put some work in. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? And he
yeah,
made his bones in inching up the ladder. And it says a lot about the fact that they chose him to lead a program like Notre Dame. But that being said, man, I mean, to be honest with you, man, I love the product that he puts out there, but I love hearing his interviews, man. Just hearing him talk about like kind of the adversity they fought after losing to Northern Illinois. Even when he was talking about how him choosing Riley Leonard and getting behind him and just kind of
hmm
pushing him to be the best version of himself. And you just, I mean, man, I never stepped a foot on Notre Dame's campus in terms of being in their facility in that type of space, but you can see from the fans' view, like them kids are really playing for him. You know what I'm saying? Even last game, they go into halftime, things not looking well. Made some adjustments and came out clicking on all cylinders. So I personally think it's going to be a good game, a great game. But I think, like always, man, it's going to come down to their quarterback play. And specifically for Riley Leonard, he's going to have to beat Ohio State's pass rush. And Jack Sawyer and cat JT, I can't pronounce his last name, they call him JTT. But those two are ranked sixth as a combination in the nation in terms of pass rush. And they don't blitz much, you know what I'm saying? They rushing four. So it's gonna be Notre Dame's offensive line versus Ohio State's offensive line. And can Riley Leonard create enough uh, time, whether it's manipulating the pocket or just running when he has opportunities to kind of soften up that rush a little bit? Because the fact of the matter is Ohio State secondary is their weakness. In terms of throws outside the numbers, they give up a lot of big plays, and Riley Leonard can actually make some throws outside. But I think the give and take on that side is Notre Dame didn't have necessarily the deepest, most explosive bunch of wide receivers. So in saying that, I think Notre Dame's going to really have to get their running game going. I personally would like to see them put some wrinkles in, and I'm not saying reinvent the wheel. I'm saying whether it's some shifts in motions, whether it's just you dressing up plays with different personnel, just do some things to, in my personal opinion, to get Notre Dame. Excuse me, Ohio State off balance a little bit to start the game off, and just kind of see where it is, check the temperature a little bit. You know what I'm saying? But in terms of Ohio State, they just got them big plays, man. They got some horses on the outside. They got the one guy Jeremiah Smith who's a future high draft pick. current star. I'd argue he probably is the overall best player in the nation right now. If you're just looking about just pure work, very rarely do we see kids come in day one putting in work like that. So it's going to be an interesting game, man. And then Notre Dame's run game too, man. I really like it. They got two backs who I think are future NFL guys. Um, Run hard, yards after contact, do a lot of good things. And I think one thing that they do well that isn't really spoken upon well is they stay ahead of the sticks. Typically, they get 3-4 yards on first down, which is good because I don't think they want to live and die in the passing game and stay in that space. I think they want to keep the thing on the ground and kind of keep the game moving like that. But it's gonna be a good one, man. I mean, as usual, adjustments are gonna be key. It's a chess match. Ryan Day gonna make a move. Marcus Freeman's got to counter it. The last thing I would say, it'll be interesting to see what type of coverage Notre Dame's going to play because they're heavy man defense in the coverage space, and I think they are the top man coverage defense in the nation, if not probably top 10.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you can hold up all day doing that against this bunch of wide receivers. So that's that. I mean, and then too, hopefully Notre Dame can affect the quarterback too. I don't think they have near the names, name power, quote unquote. But they got some guys who can affect the quarterback as well too, just not as highly thought of as Ohio State's group.
Who you picking?
I got to say Ohio State. I think it'll be tough for Notre Dame to manufacture enough points. I really do. I think they can score, but I don't think they can score with ease. And it's different when you're playing against a team who got two guys and you just raise up if the quarterback got some time and just put it over top. And so I think it's will it be a good game? Yes. I think Ohio State does have too much scoring.
For me, when I look at this game, I like Marcus Freeman. I like what he's doing. I like the program he's building. I just hope Notre Dame continues to have not just the verbal faith in him, but actually show it with, making sure they have enough NIL money to really go to the next level. Because this is their second quarterback that they have gotten transferred in prior to the season. So that might be a position, just thinking down the road that they may want to do some heavy recruiting and get some young guys in that they can really develop. But as far as the national championship game, I think it's going to come down to, for Notre Dame to win, someone young has to make a big play. You expect your older guys to make plays. And I think Leonard, for Riley Leonard, he's got to stay untouched, essentially. And that's going to be hard to do. So because of that, I expect it to be a slowed down game, not a lot of points. Because again, I think there are a lot of question marks. Does a young Jeremiah Smith get frustrated by Notre Dame's coverage if he's not getting the ball early enough? But at the same time, on Ohio State's side, you're looking at their quarterback situation, and Will Howard transferred in also. He came in right before 2024 season started. And can he have a big game? So you got two quarterbacks transferred in the season, and neither have been on this stage before. Right. Nothing against their, play, but this is the biggest stage. This is it. And I think it's for Ohio State, they've got to really keep this game under control in terms of their own emotions. Both teams are coming in with a chip on their shoulder. It's just who has the bigger chip. Is it Marcus Freeman with something to prove, or are we just seeing the beginning? I'm not trying to wish anything on him, but is this the national championship he doesn't win that sets him up to win 2 or 3 in a row? Right. But then on the Ohio State side, they've been dry. They've been running real dry for a long time for their standard. And now they have a chance to be back at the mountaintop. And so I just think overall, and you and I have been saying this all season about Ohio State, they just have more talent. Yeah. I mean, pound for pound, going into this game, I just think that takes over ultimately. and I think it overwhelms Notre Dame towards the end of the game. I think it becomes about attrition. And at this point, how many games has the program's played at this point? What, 15, 16 games?
Something like that, yeah.
You didn't play the NFL season, and I just think at this point it's going to be now another thing Notre Dame could do that really could help them in a game like this: special teams, big and big time turnovers at the right time.
So
That could
gonna
be
make
critical.
that point. Like, who's gonna? It's like, some coaches, like going back to Sean Payton when they played the Colts in the Super Bowl when he was in the Saints, onside kick, start off second half. You know what I'm saying? Something like that was a fake punt.
Yeah.
Whether it's just something to, whether you got trying to galvanize a team, trying to get some momentum, or were you just trying to catch them off guard and trying to, kind of, whether you're up 7, you're down 7, something. And like, to your point, turnovers. Who's going to make the first mistake? And mistakes happen. That's just part of the game. There's never been a game played where it's just clean, no penalties, no turnovers. But who's going to make that play, and how do you recover from it from the team who does make the mistake? It's going to be key. But you made a point that I didn't think about. And you got two guys. You got Riley Leonard coming from Duke, no national championship hopes out of there. You got Howard coming from Kansas State. Those aren't teams that are fighting for national championships. So that point that you made about, man, like, all eyes on you. There's nothing else on TV on Monday night. It's you. it's Duke versus former Kansas State.
Yeah.
And two blue blood programs, and it's like they're gonna have to find a way to just stay focused, stay in the moment, and just take it a play at a time, man. And hopefully, whatever side prevails is gonna have to be a thought process of next play. Good or bad?
This is a game where I think your stars are going to cancel each other out. I think Notre Dame's pass defense, I'm not going to say cancel out as in, they shut out Jeremiah Smith. I'm just saying they cancel each other out where it's going to be a dogfight. And to throw that off, as I was saying, someone that maybe hasn't been that star is going to have to step up, make some catches. In pass protection, they're going to have to get some sacks. That's why I think in this game, when you have two programs that, as you said, they're blue bloods, there's going to be someone young or someone we just haven't been talking about all season that's going to step up and make a play for whichever one. I think that whomever wins, you're going to go back and look at the film and see where typically an underrated player or unrecognized player or a young player is going to make a play that's a difference in the game. Now, it may not be a touchdown, may not be a reception or a sack, but the way you and I can see the game, we can tell if that young D lineman is staying in his gap and holding that line together. Now, the fans may not see it, but I think it's going to be those key plays in a game like this where there's so many things with both teams that cancel out. But I just think overall, ultimately, at the end of the day, Ohio State just has too much. They just got too much talent across the board. And it's not a great deal. I'm hoping it's not a blowout. No. But I just think at the end of the day, it's just going to be too much. And I'm going to Ohio State. I don't think it'll be a blowout. I think it may be Ohio State by 10, 13, something like that. But I do think that we're just seeing the beginning of Marcus Freeman.
Yeah.
I think we're just seeing the beginning, and that's great to see. Let's jump down to second topic for tonight. We got the playoffs coming up for the NFL. A few big games, a lot of really good matchups, Pace. When you think about the playoffs, okay, with your time in the league, kind of share with the audience what is going through a player's mind.
Man, up until literally you getting on the bus to get ready to go to the game, if you're on the road, if you're home. I never had a home playoff game, so I don't know how that felt. But I give you my experience. It actually was fun, man, because if you're a team that doesn't have home field and you can have we the road warriors mentality, like, we don't care. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we were playing for the Jets. We had a fan base that traveled. We went to play San Diego where it was deep. It went to play Cincinnati. They was deep out there. So you got to put it in your mind like they cheering for me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's a cliche. Like if you're the road team, you got to figure out a way to take the crowd out of it. If you take the
Yeah.
crowd out of it, the momentum goes down. You
Yeah.
instead of cheering on defense and being loud when our offense is on because we've been, gashing them or inching it down the field, body blows. They start getting their loudness starts going down and down and down. You got to have that mentality, but I mean, truthfully, man, you really just got to go out there like, excuse my French, just like fuck it, like, we prepared. We're here for a reason. In my situation. I'm looking across the field at Phillip Rivers. He's in his prime doing his thing. LaDainian in the backfield. And I'm like, man, we here now. We got to get it in. Same thing playing Peyton Manning. We here now.
Yeah.
There's no turning back. So the beauty of it is like you got a bunch of guys from a bunch of different backgrounds. So, my first time in the playoffs, I was 9 years in. 8, 9 years in. You know what I'm saying? Whereas you got some guys who started going to the playoffs year one. So you got different people to lean on, especially coaches can give you, different ways to go about it. Sometimes they've been in the same situation versus the same team on another team. And it's like, hey, if we can go out there and jump on them fast, we can take them out of this game type of thing.
Yeah.
But truthfully, man, it's the same thing. I remember we were about to play the Colts in the AFC Championship game. It was an 8 o'clock game.
Mm-hmm.
And when I tell you, man, you wake up, you have some meetings, some walkthroughs, and we had like 5 hours of chill. I mean, I took a nap.
Oh, wow.
Went, got up and got something to eat. Came back, took another nap. Still had like 2 hours. And I just remember like sitting watching some film, and it was like 30 minutes before we had to get on the bus, and I was like, oh shit, we've been talking all this shit all this time, talking about I want to go to the playoffs, but we here now. I was feeling, oh man, I don't know.
Well, let me ask you this, Pace. How much? Let's say you play a team. Let's say at the time you may have played the Chargers during the regular season, and say you ran up on them in the playoffs. What really, other than just maybe the self-inflicted or broader public inflicted pressure, outside of that, does your energy level really change during the game than in a playoff versus a regular season? I'm saying just your energy level and what you want to do.
It's more intense. It's more intense because every single play matters that much more. And there's a certain level of pressure because that mistake is magnified. Meaning, like, if I'm playing on the secondary and I make a misstep, if I do that in the regular season, man, week 5, man, we got 11 more weeks left. You know what I'm saying? I can recover. One mistake in the playoffs, man, you might not get the ball back on offense if you throw a pick.
Yeah.
On defense, you make a mistake in the red zone with 8 minutes left in the game, you might not get another chance to redeem yourself. So it's more pressure packed. Everything is magnified, and it just depends on what side of the pressure you're on. See, if you're a team that's not expected to be there and not expected to do much, you playing free. Like, we wasn't expected to be there. My first year, we were one of 3 teams I think ever to have 2-3 game losing streaks and still make the playoffs and made it to the AFC Championship game. So when we get the playoffs, we was playing with house money. We was wilding. We just like, hey, we about to come out here just on some like whatever.
Yeah.
And we got a guy like Rex coaching us, and he talking shit, from the time he walked in the building to the time they fired him. Rex ain't give a damn. So, and then I remember my second year going to the playoffs, we had stocked up on some talent. We added LaDainian Tomlinson, Jason Taylor. We were expected to get back there, and we did get back there. And I felt the pressure then. I felt it like, man, we was playing Pittsburgh in the AFC Championship game. We ended up losing, and we lost that game. I was like, I'll never get back in this position again. I knew it. I was like, it just was too good to be, and I was like, we missed out on the opportunity. You know what I'm saying? So, it's one of them things, man. It's just everybody handles it differently. Everybody has different methodology in terms of how they approach it, how loose, how tight they are. But at the end of the day, it's like just another game, though. You know, you're gonna have them butterflies, but once that first hit happened, it's like, all right, cool, let's do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay. So let's jump into it with the playoffs. If there are a number of games going on this week. Second round, everybody's playing now. No one has a bye. So when you look across the games this week, what game stands out for you?
Definitely Buffalo and Baltimore. And truthfully, the reason why I say it is you got two guys who are MVP candidates, who the pressure's on them to do it in the playoffs now. So basically, win the ring now. Lamar's won two MVPs, probably about to win a third. Josh Allen is right there on his heels to be an MVP candidate. And everybody knows, man, we know what you can do in the regular season. Now it's time to see you take that next step. And
What?
both of them have went far. They just have to get to a point where they see Patrick Mahomes, and that's always been their kryptonite. I truly think whoever wins this game will end up beating Patrick Mahomes. I just don't think the Chiefs, for whatever reason, it's just the season for them. Even when you look at their numbers, they're just not typical numbers. And I think that just the fact that they've been barely winning a lot of games, it's a good thing, but it's not necessarily the Chief way. And I think it's just I think they're gonna make a mistake that they can't recover from in the playoffs.
Yeah. Man, when I look at the Buffalo Ravens game, I think the Ravens win in a close game. I don't think Lamar should be MVP. The reason being is he's not the difference on that team this year. They're not doing what they're doing because he's performing better. You take Derrick Henry off that team, and I know they aren't where they are right now because you have to game plan differently when you're playing defense against a Derrick Henry. That adds a whole another element to it because you're not just throwing a basic running back out there. You're throwing somebody that could pop it from anywhere on the field. And so when you make an addition like that and he's efficient at the highest level, then I'm not saying Lamar is a bad player or whether he's falling off. I'm just saying when you look at MVP and you look at the difference to me, Derrick Henry, when you got the best running back in the league on your team, you better be winning the Super Bowl when you've also got a two-time MVP at quarterback. But I think when I look at this game, I think that Josh Allen and the Bills may be coming in, as you talked about. They ain't got shit to lose to a certain extent.
Right.
They're playing a team that has all of these tools in place. The defense is playing better. They seem to be getting better each and every week. And their pass coverage has gotten better. I mean, they're looking like some of the Baltimore of old, and I'm seeing some flashes of it. But the offense, for me, is where Josh Allen really has to use this as an opportunity to try to show what he can do, that he belongs in that conversation. And that's the chip he has to carry on his shoulder because now the world is watching. But I think that with the Bills' defense, they're in a difficult situation like everybody's defense that plays Baltimore. How do you stop Derrick Henry? I don't think you stop him. I think you need to minimize his big play. That's where teams get crushed is when he busts that 40, 50-yard run and he's stiff-arming everybody. You haven't laid a hand on Lamar all night. You start to cash it in. And so I just don't know if the Bills' defense is really put together to slow down Baltimore's offense enough. But I also know that Baltimore, people talking about how dominant they were against the Steelers. And from the optics, they were. But let's think about it. As bad as the Steelers played and as good as the Ravens played, they only won by 14 points.
So you in saying that you just looking at some stats and numbers, man, it's really contrasting and some stuff that you wouldn't think. So Baltimore has the number one rush defense. They're only giving up 80 yards a game, but they have the worst pass defense, or 31st. Buffalo's middle of the road. They're giving up 115 yards a game rushing. They're 24th in pass coverage, and they like to play a lot of too high safeties, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, in my mind, there's no way you're going to be able to do that versus Derrick Henry. You're going to have to bring somebody in that box, which then you and I both know when you play a dog ass running back, you're gonna have to pick. You gon' you can't stop everything. So
Exactly.
you're gonna have to pick like either we're gonna have to add somebody to the box. Now, what's gonna help Buffalo is Zay Flowers is probably gonna be out this game. They got him as doubtful. That's their top receiver,
Yeah.
Pro Bowl receiver, went over 1,000 yards. So next man up after that is gonna be Rashad Bateman. Mark Andrews gets a lot of targets. He's gonna do his thing as usual. I think a guy who's gonna be key for Baltimore is gonna be Isaiah Likely, their second tight end.
Yeah.
Real guy, real good guy, move guy, kind of split him out some. Um, I think not Baltimore, Buffalo's going to have to change some stuff. I think they're going to have to go a little bit more man coverage and get out of that zone because you're going to have to stop Derrick Henry. I mean, you think about it, Smitty. You 6'4", 6'5", 250. Even if you hit me in the backfield, I still can fall forward for 3 yards.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Buffalo's not super big up front. You know what I'm saying? So on the flip side of that, if Buffalo can get into a rhythm on offense, however that looks, and I think Josh Allen's gonna have to use his legs some. He's got some things working in his favor. His offensive line's only giving up 14 sacks on the season, which is amazing,
Yeah.
right? Baltimore, in retrospect, has gotten 54 sacks. So you know they coming, right? They don't blitz a lot. You know they coming.
Yeah.
So I think Josh Allen, and the thing I think is going to slow the rush down just a little bit is the fact that you know you got a guy back there who can get out that pocket, and he's just as big as me, 6'5", 230, 240.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a chess match, man. I think Baltimore's going to have to take some shots down the field. Buffalo's going to have to take some shots. There's going to be some stuff that's going to be, although we might not hit the big one right here, we got to loosen you up a little bit. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And as usual, you got things like the red zone. I think Baltimore is great in the red zone. 74% in the red zone, real efficient, and Buffalo is as well. But I just think, I like you said, I think it'll be a close game, but I think Baltimore will pull it out. But I think Josh Allen's gonna make it hard for Lamar. I really do. My only concern with Lamar is, in the playoffs, we've seen, in my personal opinion, I think he gets tight in some moments. And I think he does some things every now and then that are a little uncharacteristic of his play. And not big mistakes, but I think he's been hesitant to take some shots sometimes. Where you see, like, Mahomes, he's going to let it rip. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's the pressure for him. That's the pressure, like, hey, we know that you can win MVPs during the regular season, but can you do it in the postseason when it matters most?
But it goes to your point and of what can he do when that pressure's on. That's why if I'm Buffalo Bills defensive coordinator, I'm saying let's try to hold Derrick Henry as much as we can. We want to focus on holding. That's why I don't like the term stop. You're not going to stop a Derrick Henry. What you do with a Derrick Henry is you try to contain him, don't give up the big play, and make Lamar beat you throwing the ball. Make him make that game-winning 2-minute drive. Make him try to put the ball in the end zone with a minute and a half left in the second quarter and they got a chance to go up. Put him in that situation, because if you decide that you're going to stop the pass and just let Derrick Henry run on you, they're just going to wear you out. Because when you can focus on that run, then to me you put Harbaugh in a situation where they don't want to be, which is they have to now get into a shootout. That offense is not built to be in a shootout. So if Josh Allen can put that pressure on him, even speed up the pace of the game,
That's it.
but also make Harbaugh and Lamar get into uncomfortable play calling situations. For again, third down and long. When I watched him against Pittsburgh, yes, he was very efficient in terms of a completion percentage. But if you watch it, a lot of those plays he completed on third down were broken plays where he was scrambling. He didn't exactly just sit there and totally pick it apart. A lot of his completions came when he scrambled, got outside of the box. Now, you're not going to stop him from scrambling, but continuously put him in situations where, one, there's a shootout, and two, they just can't stay in that comfortable, conservative playbook and play calling and beat you on field position, time of possession, those things, because that starts to wear on your defense. That means your defense is out there a long time. So my thing is just say, forget it. We're gonna stop the run. We're gonna focus on stopping the run, filling the gaps, and trying to catch him as soon as possible. And hey, Lamar's just gonna have to pick us apart if he can, because he's got to do it for 4 quarters. And I think that I know Josh Allen can do it. That's how he plays. But I think if Buffalo's gonna have a chance, they're gonna have to do that. And that's where the real battle is going to be, is how uncomfortable can you make Lamar during the course of the game with some of his decision making, because this is when quarterbacks, earn their legacy. It's right now.
No, I think you made a hell of a point with time of possession, because if Buffalo doesn't come out in their first 3 to 5 possessions and have at least 10, 13 points, because now you get a ball to Baltimore and they just going to grind it out.
Yeah.
You're going to look up and your time possession is going to be 28 minutes Baltimore, and
and your defense gassed. Your offense is mad. You ain't producing anything. That's what happened to Pittsburgh last week. That was the formula.
But I will say this. If Buffalo can keep it close, Baltimore has a hard time closing games defensively. If you watch the last month of the season, they had some games they had put away early, but for whatever reason, defensively, I don't know if it's the coach started calling plays that are a little less aggressive, or, guys kind of lit up off the gas a little bit type thing. And I think that kind of plays a little bit into why they're ranked so low on defense from a passing perspective. But I mean, if I'm Buffalo, I win the coin toss. Let me get the ball first.
Oh, you play it that way.
Let me get the ball first. Let me go down here. I think Josh can go down here and do his thing. Let him get in the rhythm early. And I think that kind of sends a message to Baltimore, like, we ain't scared, man. Let's do this. You know what I'm saying? But I think if they come out there kind of like on that type of mind frame and get some points, even if you get 3 points, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're on the road, like 3 points is a big deal. You can't go out there and have too many just, drives that don't amount to anything. Even if you have a drive that isn't great, you got to flip the field position.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. But that's a hardball type game. He likes that type stuff, which is good. But if Josh Allen, if they can come up with a game plan where they really push it, put that pressure on him, make him have to match him point for point, even if it's field goal for field goal, put Lamar in that situation where he feels the pressure of, I have to score a touchdown quickly, or to have to make that precision pass, even if it's on 3rd and 5, because they're in a shootout. So those third down passes and completions, they really matter now. So just get them in an uncomfortable position. Don't let them just sit back like they did last week and be able to run 13 straight running plays. Come on, man.
That's your Steelers, man. That's
Come on, man. Like that, you're not even uncomfortable. That's what I was saying. You're not uncomfortable. You don't feel any pressure. So I'm going with the Ravens. I'm looking forward to it because I think both organizations are. This is a one of those where you get to measure where your organization is now. Are you really equipped to go to that next level, or do you need to go back to the drawing board again? This is one of those games, I think, and I think Baltimore has really invested in going to that next level. As you and I talked about earlier in the season, they really are looking past this, in my opinion. They were built to play Kansas City and get to the Super Bowl. That's what this team was built to do. So I think if they lose, it would be considered a failure, and they would need to make some changes in certain spots. I mean, that's just my opinion.
It's very few teams that you can check the box on every level. Offense, check the box.
Yeah.
Defense, check the box. Special teams, check the box. And at that point, man, it's just about executing. Limiting mistakes, and using the home field to your advantage. I mean,
I agree.
Things happen, but if they stick to the game plan and Harbaugh's proven to be, a legitimate Hall of Fame coach, I think they got a real good shot in playing for the Super Bowl and possibly winning.
Yep. Pace, let's run on to our next topic, man. We got some coaching vacancies still in the NFL. We've got the Cowboys, the Raiders, the Jaguars, the Bears, the Saints, and your Jets all have vacancies left. So when you look at that list of teams and who's out there is available, first let's jump into this. What would be out of those teams that are left? What is the best and what is the worst situation for a head coach?
The ones left, I'd probably rank them Bears, Bears, Jaguars, Raiders. No, Bears, Jets, Jaguars, Raiders, Cowboys. And I'll start from the bottom.
Why I picked the Cowboys as the worst?
And the only reason why I say that's the worst is because Jerry Jones is involved.
Okay.
He won't get out the way.
Okay.
You'll never be able to do your thing with the owner sitting over your shoulder trying to pull strings and be in game plans and all. Look, man, you don't see the owner of Harris Teeter stocking shelves. he ain't doing no inventory, man. He own it. Let the other people do the job for you, man. You know, it's cool. We appreciate you, Jerry. We know you used to ball, Jerry. It's cool, bro. Just chill, bro. And I'm saying this jokingly, but I'm saying it from a serious perspective. The Cowboys will never win the Super Bowl until he takes the back seat. Like, we get it, man.
He ain't gonna do that.
He ain't gonna do it. You built this beautiful stadium. You got this Jerry's World down there. I mean, I will say this now. The Cowboys are probably one of the top 10 teams in terms of drafting and developing their players. If you look at their roster, most of their guys are homegrown. They draft them, they make them good. They just can't ever win the big game.
But see, Pace, that's where I think that, and you and I talked about this before. We have to stop looking at Jerry Jones as wanting to win the Super Bowl. Jerry Jones wants to be the most profitable and the most beloved.
That's facts.
And he has proven you can do that by not winning a Super Bowl.
You know, and to me, he got a fan base that's some fools because they keep on buying into it.
Because he's a great salesman. He has them thinking they can be in the Super Bowl conversation every single year. And to me, that goes back to Jerry is not there to actually win. He is there to be profitable and to continue to make that a big brand. And he is proving that you can do that without winning in pro sports. Now, you got to always keep some drama and some bullshit. But that's what I've had to really come to grips with. And I'm not a Cowboys fan, but I'm just saying as a fan of the game. And you and I talk about there are two types of owners. There are those that want to win and those that want to make a profit. Yeah. But and we keep putting Jerry in that other category because he talks like he wants to win. No, look at it. Look at the stadium. Look at the other things that he's done and invested in that ain't got shit to do with winning. None of it.
I say this, and I believe this. I think in certain sports you need certain teams to be competitive. I ain't saying you got to win the Super Bowl, but we need you competing for a Super Bowl yearly, right? If you go to college basketball ain't nothing without Duke and North Carolina and Kansas, right? Or Kentucky.
Yeah.
You go to college football is nothing without Alabama. That's why even with the championship coming up, I'm not a huge Notre Dame fan, but I loved them when I was growing up when they had Rocky and Bettis and all of them.
Yeah,
that's
Tim Brown.
Blood. We need to see them competing for a championship. I ain't saying you got to win. We need to see you competing for it because that adds to the college football experience. So, but even from that, like moving up to the next spot, I'm gonna go from the bottom up, from the Raiders, right?
Okay.
Do you know the Raiders are paying 4 head coaches right now?
I heard that. I heard about that.
You paying 2 GMs still. And I'm like, you in an amazing situation, right? If I'm Mark Davis, I'm letting Tom Brady run everything in his football operation. I'm not gonna say that publicly. I'm gonna let him have a big say in the coaching hire. I'm gonna let him make a big say in the
But why, Pace?
Because ain't nobody else ever figured it out for him or his dad at the end. You know his dad would pick the fastest player in the draft every year.
What about Al Davis and his son? When have they ever said, or really not even said, shown, we want to be a franchise that wins?
His dad definitely did.
No, his dad said it.
I think his
His
dad.
so let's look at one of the things his dad did. He brought in an old Jerry Rice and an old Warren
No, no,
Sapp.
no. I'm talking about before that. I'm talking like let's go back. No, let's go back to like Marcus Allen day. I'm talking about like
Yeah,
when it
that's
was
what.
like
So yeah, he won then.
he
But
had a
again,
formula then.
what's the difference between his formula and Jerry Jones? If you look at the timeline of winning, how much they won,
You
and
know what?
then the fall off. But yet, even in the midst of the fall off, the growth of the popularity.
The problem with those two individuals in general, they had early success, right? Jerry Jones won championships, and he had just bought the team not too long. Al
Okay.
Davis was still relatively young. You know, Al coached, right? Then he
Yeah,
was
I feel
on.
you.
So you basically, it's like we talked about with the Steelers, right? You got this brand that you keep leaning on, and this shit is stale. It's stale. It needs to change, right? So the change is, Jerry, get you somebody in here who could make decisions that make sense.
I
Mark,
agree.
Mark
If you want,
Davis,
but that's if you want to win.
and I think, and I say I made the Raiders point because I think with Tom Brady and the ownership group, I think that kind of was part of it, right? Let me get a voice in here that can actually speak some sense to me, because right now I'm doing a bunch of dumb shit that don't make no fucking sense, and I always
Yeah.
have. So okay, hey, come on in, Tom. Matter of fact, let me ask you this: should I do this? No, Mark, that's stupid as fuck. Do this. Okay, cool, I'll do that. You know what I'm saying? Like that type of relationship. So,
I feel you. I just think that Tom Brady can add a lot of value, like you were saying.
at
But
the
I think
very
an owner,
least, Tom
but
Brady can tell you who to pick at quarterback. At the very, very least, who we want? Who should we pick at quarterback? Pick Shador.
yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
All right,
But
Tom.
here's the
Roll out
tough
your
part,
business.
though. Here's the tough part about that. How many great players are actually able to do that have tried? Now you have had some that were successful, but how
Ozzie
many?
Newsome.
That's one.
Ozzie Newsome.
Now compare that to the numbers that didn't do so well.
Well, I was. You haven't had a lot of us really get to really decision making level. You know
Well,
what I'm
when I
saying?
say it, I mean when I say Tom Brady level, I mean like, and to your point, you're right. It's not many in football, but I just look at Jordan in basketball, even
Oh,
Larry
that's
Bird.
different. Man.
You know, but it's the reason why I say that is it's a greatness mentality. Now Tom may be able to switch it and figure it out. I hope he does. But when I look at it, just real quick, I want to throw this in. The Raiders were my best opportunity for a head coach. Here's why. You got they're fairly new in Las Vegas, and nobody has yet established a legacy as a coach or a player for that franchise in Las Vegas. They got a brand new stadium. The weather is what it is. They got a division where they can have some success early with some wins in that division. I'm just saying, if you're a head coach, you got all those things in your favor. Now,
Let me tell you why, Smitty.
but wait though, this is of those teams that's left. Not saying it's the best place overall. I'm just saying for the 6 teams that are left, the Raiders have, again, they got a brand new stadium, all of those things. But I think what holds them back is, like you said, you're paying 4 other coaches, you're paying all these other people that you've gotten let go. But the in all of these situations, if your ownership ain't on board and they just bring you in to stop gap or whatever, it's gonna be a problem.
So I think like I've been reading that Detroit's offensive coordinator Ben Johnson is tied to that job, right? So my thing is one, you got to get somebody who can develop a quarterback. Y'all only had a good quarterback since
Yeah.
Rich Gannon left. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
outside of that, part of my criteria was looking at like draft capital, cap space. Like to me, honestly, the best overall job was New England. The reason why is you already got a franchise quarterback that you're hoping is the guy. He had a
Yeah.
pretty good season. They got like 12 draft picks. They got the 3rd overall pick that they can mortgage into 2 first-round picks, one this year, and if they trade it down and get another one, they can do a whole bunch of different scenarios. And they got like 100 something million dollars in cap space. You know what I'm saying? Something crazy. Now,
So if you're a head coach in New England, can you see yourself finishing second in the division and getting to the playoffs fairly early in that division? Because the Dolphins are falling apart,
yes, yes.
and
The
I think that
Dolphins,
makes a difference. I can see that.
the Dolphins are, man. The Dolphins are. You know Tua gonna miss at least 8 games. You know if they, I mean, the Dolphins out here running offense like it's maddening. And if,
Yeah.
anytime you see them where they need to get some yards or they need to get, they can't do it. They running this style of play that just ain't realistic for sustained success. It's
Yeah.
flashy, it's cool, but if you can't
It's
hit
not
Tyreek on a
sustainable.
deep bomb or run a tall sweep around the corner, man, it's watching them is like you gonna watch like 8 minutes of the game. Like, man, turn this shit off. And then I look at then I rank like Jacksonville in there. So I'm not super high on Trevor Lawrence, but you already got a guy. You don't have to worry about finding the guy, right? You got good cap
Yeah.
space. They got a high draft pick this year. Like I said, man, in my perfect world, if I'm a GM or a coach coming in, do I got draft capital? That's the most valuable thing. Do I got draft capital and do I got a quarterback in place? If I got
Yeah.
them two, then I can come in and start doing what I want to do easier. Because I ain't got to worry about, all I got to do is get them caught up to speed in terms of how I want to run things. And then I can go and pick good young talent, which is the foundation. If I got cap
Yeah.
space, then I can infuse some talent with some guys that's familiar with my scheme. I'm able to hit the ground running faster. Versus, it's not hard to turn from, if you're at 6 wins, it's not hard to take that into 10 wins because you probably lost 3 games by 10 or less. You know what I'm saying? You probably lost some games that might have looked like it got out of hand, but it wasn't that bad. So, and then I got like my Jets, man. Like, we got to find somebody who can develop a quarterback. The reason why, because I saw Geno Smith as a young player.
Yeah.
Geno had all the talent in the world. He just wasn't ready to play when we played him.
Yeah.
You need
But
somebody.
you've been saying that all season about the importance of letting
Man,
quarterbacks develop.
Sam Darnold, man. I saw the boy. I saw the young man in training camp in 2019. He can make every throw. He's athletic. Adam Gase was his head coach.
Yeah.
That shit was a clown show, and I'm like, you gotta get somebody in here to teach this man how to play football, play
Yeah.
quarterback. Excuse me. What does he do? He did the same thing Baker Mayfield did. You get shipped off. They put the blame on you. Cool. You got to go somewhere else. Take your lumps. Then somebody finally teaches you how to play the position,
Yeah.
right? And now you making Baker Mayfield as a good quarterback. He's making 20, $30 million a year. Sam Darnold about to be making 30, $40 million a year. Like,
Yeah. But
it's not
I
the player. It's the system. You know what I'm saying?
but Pace, I had you're not gonna like this. I had the Jets as the worst job. And the only thing that made the Jets the worst job, here's the deciding factor. I think it's important that not just a team, I think an organization has to have an identity. Regardless of who the Patriots hire, they have an identity and a set of expectations as long as Robert Kraft is the owner. And we've seen Tom Brady leave. We've seen Belichick leave. They haven't had the same success, but I would think that when people go to the Patriots, they still have that aura just looming around. And I just think the Jets haven't found it yet. I think Aaron Rodgers was terrible for the locker room. He killed the culture. And so I think a head coach has to come in and rebuild that up. And, once they do that, I think if they can bring in a coach that can help them have an identity, like you were talking about Rex Ryan, the Jets had a damn identity when Rex Ryan was head coach. You knew what you were going into, what you was expecting, the type of coach he was. And that's what the good coaches do. They set the tone with the culture, whether it's, you player friendly, whether you're strict, whatever, but you set that tone and you ride with it. And I think that's a part of what it could be a good thing because as a coach, you get to come in and set it.
Right.
If you're strong enough like that.
We forgot one. The
What's that?
Saints. I think the
Oh,
Saints is the
man.
worst job. I really do.
They ain't even worth talking about that mess down there.
If you saw the Saints cap space in their books, man,
What is that number? What was that number?
man, that shit was in the negatives. Shit was- it was. I mean, the Saints do business in a way that they're like literally thinking about today. They do business like the Treasury Department and the
Oh,
debt
yeah.
ceiling. Like we just gonna keep pushing it back. Like just keep pushing it back. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I know. Don't worry about it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but all we talking about with all of these opportunities, whether it's the Cowboys, Raiders, Saints, or even the Bears, Jets, it don't matter. It all goes back to the mindset of the owner. Does the owner bring in someone that could develop quarterbacks? What is the owner's contribution to the team's culture? You talked about cap space. Who ultimately makes that final decision on that? Like you said, how they do business. When we look at Jerry Jones, when you're talking about that head coach, and then I think the Raiders, rumor has it, Wake Forest football alum Chad Alexander, he's currently the I think assistant GM with the Chargers. He interviewed allegedly for the GM job with the Raiders, and so the Raiders haven't even figured out the GM position. So and then you got to make sure that matches up. And so I'm a firm believer that when it comes to owning a professional team, you're either in it for the profit or in it for the wins. It's hard to do both, because to do both consistently, you got to pay players, you got to get the right free, you got to do a lot of things right.
In
And
a lot of ways, it's not that hard, though, Smitty.
oh, come on, man.
Because I say it this way: the Raiders just fired Tom Telesco, who came from the Chargers when they were in San Diego. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer, man. If you've been fired in those spaces and you failed, and somebody rehires you the next year, you haven't changed. You got the same whatever philosophy that didn't work at the last place you was at. Shit just don't work that way. So you look at like Andy Reid, and I've told you this story, and it was a dope story to hear, because he got fired from the Eagles. He purposely took a year off. He said, I need to refresh my mind on how football today is. He went to go study with some colleges. Let me see how these young boys is learning. Let me see what this talent is that I got to pick from, because I got to come to their level. It's not the other way around. It's not like when you come from college and you got to step on NFL level. Now I got to go see how they doing things, because I'm not used to that, right?
Yeah.
He identifies Patrick Mahomes as a guy, cool, right? We already know you're a good coach. Your time was just up in Philly. That's a cool situation. On the flip side, I've never understood this. I think Chad will be an amazing hire for the Raiders. You know why? Because he comes from Baltimore. He made his bones in Baltimore. Baltimore has consistently drafted the right players. Consistently. They have a culture from how they do things. And it's worked from the time when Ray Lewis first got started playing. Yeah. Everybody in this country who's a football fan know how Baltimore going to come. Every year.
Yeah.
We know
but even prior to that, his father, let's give a shout out to his dad, was an assistant coach with the Cowboys, coach wide receivers, Michael Irvin, those guys. So he was a part of that. So he's seen a lot of great football, and he's seen how organizations have had success long term, like you're saying with Baltimore, and doing it the right way. So I'm excited to see where that goes with him at GM, and but again, how much room is he going to have? Is the owner going to be able to stay out of the way? Are they going to be so focused on making this money, being in Vegas, and the marketing, and where's the head of the owner? Because I thought that, I feel bad for Antonio Pierce, because he needs a place where he could develop and continue to grow as a head coach. And with the way that kind of went down, it made me wonder, what are they looking for? When you fire a head coach in 1 year, and you didn't give him anything to work with, what are you really looking for?
You just said it right there. You know what you're looking for? A high draft pick. They won't say that.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
The treatment, the lack of investment in talent is telling me everything. And you know what? That's the thing about football. Remember when Brian Flores came out with
Miami? Yeah, all of that stuff. Yeah.
And it was said in a way that kind of verified what players thought. Like, if we trying to win, then why we got him at quarterback? And this ain't no disrespect to any quarterback, but I'm saying, whether you had some other guys on the free agent market that you could have went after, or you had a draft pick and you could have drafted a guy, but you drafted something else. And I get it though, because football is a space that, like, who's the top quarterback? Patrick Mahomes ain't ever gonna be a free agent. He's either gonna get cut or he's gonna retire. Like, he's never gonna come up in the space where, man, Patrick.
But that's rare though, Pace. That's rare to be that
so
guy.
I say that to say you only have basically either I'm gonna draft one, or I'm gonna luck up and catch a free agent like Sam Darnold on a 1 year deal and he turned into be something. And if you don't find that guy, you and I both know, man, if you don't have a quarterback, it's only so much you can do. You can
That's
be
true.
all pro at every other position. And if you got a quarterback who can't throw nothing to the flat, you know what I mean? It's just not gonna work.
That's true. You're right. That's the foundation.
Ask the Browns.
But
Ask like it's a lot of teams that you could be like, ask them. Ask them how it went with who they had at quarterback.
why you throw Cleveland under the bus, man? Why you
Because I mean, like literally, you made the worst trade and the worst. And I was a Deshaun Watson fan. Outside of the personal stuff off the field, I was
Yeah.
a fan, bro. To see that man defeat Nick Saban, to see him kill it his first 5 to 8 years, I was a legitimate fan. But
But what's more? But look at what it takes to develop one of those star quarterback. You got to have the right coordinator, still the right head coach, and
some
why?
guys got it, man. Some guys just like Shador has it, bro.
Yeah, but if
And
he don't get the right pieces around him, not even players, but if
But
he
I
don't
think
get the
Shador
right,
has enough of a foundation from a quarterback standing that I think that he can come in, even if he struggles, you'll see enough to be like, all we need to do is build around him a little bit. He has it.
oh yeah, I
Versus,
can agree he has that. I can agree. I'm just
versus like you
saying,
see some of these kids play, you like, man, he ain't ready, man. Why y'all put that boy
yeah,
out
that's
there?
true. That's but I just
Bryce
but it
Young is
goes,
the same way. Bryce Young was like that. He
yeah,
wasn't ready.
yeah,
Why would you
but it
put him
gives
out
you.
there?
But it goes to your point, though, Pace. You have to be in a place where you could develop. So you have to have a coach, a head coach, that the owner has said and invested in, saying, you're going to be here a long time. And then you got to bring in an offensive coordinator that really knows how to get hands on and develop that quarterback and put a game plan and a scheme together that's meant for the quarterback to develop. Not that you hanging them out to dry. And that's all I'm saying is for any other position on the field to function at a high level, you don't need 3, 4, 5 pieces to work together.
No.
So that's why with the quarterback,
But
man.
you do need your GM and your head coach to have the same vision.
Oh yeah, I definitely,
I'm not gonna
definitely,
say that they got to see eye to eye all the time,
definitely,
but they got to be speaking, singing out the same hymnal. They got to be
definitely.
like you can't be over here on Catholic time and we over here singing gospel songs. Like, nah, man, we ain't gonna click. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But
that's a good
no
point.
disrespect to the Catholic community. I'm just
Oh no, it's just the music is different.
our
That's
music
all.
is different. You know what
That's
I'm
all.
saying? But I think it's just. I think the NFL and decision makers make it way harder than it needs to be, man. I really do.
But that's how they keep. But that's the job security.
Yeah. It
Because if
is.
you went out there and said, "Man, this is really easy," I just turn the film on and I look at who can play and who can't.
Like, and
Oh, that's all that you do?
I say this to people, and I think you can understand this, and most football people. If you told me, man, go down to Laurinburg High School, man, you got a linebacker I want you to tell me. I'm gonna tell you, don't even tell me his name or his number. I'm gonna hit you after the first quarter and see if it's the right player.
Yeah.
That's all you need. That's all you need to tell me if I know what I'm looking at.
But that's the thing. If you know what you're looking for, not everybody does. But I do think that it gets to a point now where you wonder, what did you see in this dude? What was it about him that made you draft him?
You know what it is, Smitty?
What's that?
The slave market. It's that when you go to the combine and you
Oh,
gotta take
yeah.
off your clothes,
Yeah.
down to your drawers and walk across the stage. People get enamored with muscles and size and all of that. But man, there's been plenty of players who don't fit those ideals who just know how to play ball, man. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? And people not like I'm happy that we're not in this your quarterback needs to be 6'5" and this and this. Like
Oh, yeah.
man, Russell Wilson been 5'10" the majority of his life. Drew Brees been 5'10" the majority. Like they know they're like I'm not the tallest person in the world.
But
Like I know how to
Pace,
get the ball off.
But Pace, it goes back to another point. You gotta have an organization that is willing to invest in bringing the best out of you. So if you're not that 6'5", 6'4" Peyton Manning type, cool. We're willing to invest in developing an offense that can put you in the best situation possible. And that's why I'm saying it takes that commitment. And I think the owners that invest in winning, you see it in the results. You see it.
And I think they kind of what we were speaking to later or earlier. They have enough trust in the hires that they've made to say, look, I hired you, I believed in you, I'm gonna let you do your thing.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna pay everybody that you put in front of me, but in terms of your scouting, and we've talked about the vision for the franchise and what we need, what we don't need, the money situation. If y'all done vetted this person, you stamped them. Hey, I'm gonna stick with it. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm not gonna sit here and deal with too many years of oh man, we missed out. No, I can't do that. But I mean, if you look at the Rams, right, man, Smitty. That damn Jared Verse and the White Cat Fisk, Brady.
Oh
Fisk,
yeah,
Lord have mercy. But the Rams, if you look at from the time that they drafted Aaron Donald, Chris Long, Robert Quinn, whoever in that franchise is like, look, we need our D line to be monsters. They've just continued the trend.
Turner was doing good too now.
Bro, they got 3 people on the D line, Pro Bowl caliber, and all of them under 25. That's scouting. That's like, okay, we got a plan. And then you just think, man, imagine if Aaron Donald was like still playing, dog.
Oh man.
You know what I'm saying? But
yeah,
you can do that when you're like, look, man, I'll tell you what, let's keep the D line on point. Maybe we can shave a little bit on the linebacker cost. We ain't got to pay a corner. You know why? Because we can get to the quarterback and affect him. Maybe we can just put some, keep some younger players outside, that type of thing. We can invest in top-notch receiver or something.
Or that, and then even if you just want to keep it on the defensive, like you said, you get the defensive line together, shave off on your linebackers, get you some young corners, and that's where you go get that veteran head banger safety to keep all that shit in order and to keep them young guys from doing something too stupid to give up the big play. Exactly. Keep that shit in front of you. But again,
nice middle linebacker, ain't nobody running the ball that much.
Let's be honest, man. You can find a linebacker a dime a dozen, dog. Man,
you can take a big safety and put him at linebacker,
which actually might not be a bad idea.
For real.
So,
for real.
But man, we'll be here all night, Pace, strategizing. All we're doing now is giving a coach's clinic. But well, look, man, this has been another dope episode. Appreciate you taking the time out, and we're gonna come back and we'll see how Notre Dame does. We'll see what that game comes out, and then next week we're gonna dive back into the NFL playoffs and jump into more of the games. We talked about the Ravens and the Bills and what needs to be, and I think that's just going to be the game of the week. That's the one I want to see.
One question before we go: what's your potential upset in the playoffs if you had one?
The Chiefs may lose. The Chiefs may lose.
Okay.
I think they've been cutting it close for so long, and I think that I think this might be the time they take that L and have to go back to the drawing board and make some sacrifices and get some more weapons on the offensive side. Because their defensive line, they good on defense to a certain extent, but I think this might be the year where they take that early exit, go home a little early, and that lights a fire back up under them to say, okay, we need some more pieces. We just can't go and sprinkle magic dust on Patrick Mahomes and think that that's going to cut it. It's just not going to cut it.
I can see that. I'm going to say Rams versus Eagles. And the reason I say that, man, I'm a Sean McVay fan. I think he's a hell of a play designer. And if them young boys can start eating a little bit up front, because Jalen Hurts has been sacked 45 times.
Shit.
If they can affect him, man, I think it can happen.
I agree with you. And what's interesting is now with that Eagles matchup, you got two coaches that have been there before.
Yeah.
So nobody should be nervous going into that game. And I think that game is where you're going to see much better strategic play calling. I think you're going to see a lot of wrinkles in that game. Again, you got two coaches who've been there before, and like you talked about McVay and his play calling versus when you look at Baltimore and Buffalo, Harbaugh is not going to get outside of that comfort zone.
Right.
And so But okay, I could see that upset, but I could see what you're saying about the Rams.
They're playing with house money. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like the Eagles have all the pressure, and the Rams,
But
man.
do they? All the Eagles have that
Oh,
pressure this year?
you didn't pay for Saquon. You didn't. I mean, Jalen Hurts is making top dollar. AJ Brown making top dollar. Like there's certain things where you're. I mean, they've been probably top five. You know, if you rank teams all year, like if they lose that game, I think Sirianni gets fired. I think the head coach gets fired. He can't leave that early in the playoffs.
Wow. Well, if he gets fired, then why does Harbaugh keep his job if the Ravens lose? Both the team, and I'll have to say not necessarily from a result standpoint, but when you look at the style of play of quarterbacks, when you look at the style of play of the running back, not style, but it's almost like those two teams are building themselves the same.
Right. I just think Harbaugh has more equity into the franchise. I think
Yeah.
Harbaugh has more. You know that Super Bowl gonna keep you. That Super Bowl really gonna let you quit when you want to quit. Ask Mike Tomlin. Ask like for real.
I
That
knew it.
Super
I
Bowl
knew it
let
was
you,
coming.
like,
I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming.
I told you this. I love Mike Tomlin as a coach. I do. But that shit is stale. That bread been sitting
But I put it like
a
this.
long time.
But wait though, hear this piece again. If I'm an owner, here's why I'm not firing Tomlin, because I know every year my organization's brand, whether you like it or not, is going to get playoff media attention every year.
And it should. It should.
Now, not any coach can walk in and say that, hey, you're a blue blood of the NFL, of all professional sports. You got a big brand. I can make sure that brand can run at least through the first round of the playoffs every year.
The league can't ever let Pittsburgh be bad. You can't.
Yeah. Now, they've had some bad years.
They have, but they can't ever be in the dumpster. They can't ever turn them to
But
the
because,
Jaguars.
why? Because that ownership believes they are there to win championships.
Yeah.
They're like,
Three
that's what we
coaches in
want
the
to do.
last 60, 70 years, something crazy like that.
We want, and that's why I think Jerry, in my opinion, I think Jerry lying to everybody. I think Jerry was like, hey, I got these 3 Super Bowls. I know what that experience like. I put together, one of the greatest teams, greatest runs ever. I'm good. Now let's make some money. Yeah. Let me get. That's why. There's a reason why he fought to be the guy amongst the owners.
He's
It wasn't
Don
about
King football, if you want to call it that, for real.
Yeah.
And if you ever get some time to go to Frisco, Texas, not that you have a reason to go down there, he done built up Jerry World like.
That's what I'm saying. It's he's now like, let me get into the properties. Let me do some other shit. But anyway, Pace, let me run, man. This has been another great episode.
For sure, bro. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you, man.